Hello, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Anil. I am going to be demonstrating making 4 Indian dishes with a limited range of spices that you can use. But before I go on that, let me tell you something about myself. I was born in a city called Bangalore in South India. I grew up eating South Indian food because of the geography. My parents were from East India and the food that they ate was completely different from the ones that we grew up with. My mother, who had moved to South India because that's where I was born with her, had to learn to deal with a completely different cuisine. She did, and it was to the advantage of my brother and I, who ended up growing up eating her food. At the age of 19, I left India to go to London to study to be an accountant. At that time, Indian food in London was very limited, and the Indian restaurants catered to the tastes of a fading British population who had lived in India during the days of the Raj and had a memory of what Indian food tasted like. And the Indian restaurants catered to them, which was to most Indian expatriates living in London at that time totally revolting. We had no option but to learn how to cook. But at that time, the spice range available in London was extremely limited. I happened to come upon a book written by an Indian woman using these limited spices, and with that in mind, I developed an ability to cook food that was vaguely Indian and met the needs of myself and other Indian friends of mine. So we grew up with this. However, in the 70s, Indian restaurants started developing Indian cuisine in London. Food became more authentic, and that also resulted in the availability of more and more spices. This ended up with Indian food becoming much more universal, originally in London and much later in the United States. What I will do is make 4 separate Indian dishes, which are based on my original cuisine that I developed in London, based on a limited number of spices. The recipes will be made available, and I will demonstrate these dishes to you, and I hope that you will watch them, and at some point I will tell you exactly how the recipes can be obtained. Thank you. This dish is one which is based on eggplant, a particular favorite of my mother's. I have already started on this dish, so I have previously chopped the eggplant into 1-inch squares and then boiled it for 6 or 7 minutes, and since then I've set it aside. I also have my spices ready to go, so we will start off by heating the oil. And when it is hot, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of brown mustard seed and 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds. And I will wait for that to pop, which should take seconds. And now that they have popped, sorry, that's my dog in the background. I will add 1 chopped onion. And I will saute this until the onion turns translucent. I will stop the filming now while the onions continue to saute. The onions have been cooking for about 5 minutes, and this is how they should look. At this point, I'm now going to add the next item, which is a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Stir it in and cook it for about a minute. I will now add the next set of ingredients, which is 1 teaspoon of each of the following: garlic powder, ginger powder, coriander powder, and half a teaspoon of red chili powder. Stir it in, making sure that the onions are completely covered with the mix of spices. And at this point, I will now add 1 tomato chopped into small pieces. Salt to taste. And then I will stir and cook for another 5 minutes until the tomatoes break down. The tomatoes have been cooking for about 5 minutes and have broken down. We now have one final step, which is to add the boiled eggplant. Mix it in. Again, I make sure that all the eggplant gets some attachment to what is now a sauce. Turn the heat down, cover, and I will let cook for another 5 minutes, after which it will be ready and I will show you the finished dish. It has been 5 minutes. Let's take a look. Yes, that's coming along nicely. This dish is now ready for you to taste and then serve. Taste the salt, that is. I don't do it. I just hope that I've got the salt right. That is it, the eggplant dish. Thank you. Now I'm going to show you how to make green beans in the South Indian style. First you will have to get a pound of green beans and chop them to fine pieces of about 1 centimeter each, about this size. And we will use a method called tempering where you heat olive oil and put in a bunch of spices in at one go. For this dish, the mix of spices that we're using are 1 teaspoon each of cumin seed, black mustard seed, and 2 types of lentils. These are described in the written recipe that I will hand out as well. And finally, 1 dried red chili whole. As Mother Jaffrey explained in one of her books, these should not be eaten only by those who know what they are doing. It could be unpleasant for someone who doesn't like chilies. So we heat a tablespoon of olive oil, and when it is hot, I will add all the spices. Stir them around so that they spread out over the pan, and then wait until the mustard seed and cumin seeds begin to pop. That indicates that they are now ready and at their best for the next step. Can you see that? Yeah, this is the way it should look. The lentils have turned reddish, and now, very quickly, I will add the green beans and salt to taste. About a teaspoon of salt to get out of it. Mix it in, getting the spices from the bottom so that the beans are covered with it. You could raise the heat to medium-high. Add a splash of water. And then cover. The beans have been cooking for about 10 minutes. And while they were cooking, I uncovered it, stirred it around, keep stirring all the time and then covering it back. At this point, the beans look done. Can you see it? The beans have turned bright green and they are done. We now have one final step to do. Turn the heat off and we add 2 tablespoons of grated dried coconut. Mix it in. And this dish is now ready to serve. Thank you. Now I'm going to try and do 2 dishes at the same time, which is what one really does in real life. You don't cook one dish and then start another one. You get everything planned and you cook them together. This time I'm going to do it in one. And the 2 dishes are, one is a dal. Dal is the Hindi word for lentils. And we have a number of varieties of dal in lentils in India. This one that I'm using today are red lentils, which is called masoor dal in Hindi. I have already taken 1 cup of masoor dal, 2 cups of water, a spoonful of turmeric and salt to taste. I am now going to put this on the back burner, start it to get it to boil, and we will then proceed with the dish. Meanwhile, I'm preparing two things at the same time, as I've said. The second dish is ground meat. Now, in India, the two major areas of population are two religious groups, Hindus and Muslims. Hindus don't eat beef, Muslims don't eat pork. So, while Muslims might make keema with beef, Hindus won't eat either of them because they don't eat pork either. But for the purposes of this exercise, because of my wife, I'm using ground chicken because she doesn't eat either beef or pork. And not for religious reasons, it's humanitarian. So, the usual starts for both of these dishes are to start with our basic chopped, this is, let me see, is this for, yeah, this is for the dhal. I have 1 teaspoon of mustard seed, 1 teaspoonful of cumin seed, and a red chili. And this is going to go into this hot oil when the oil is heated. And into the other, for the keema, I'm going to be adding 1 chopped onion. While we are waiting for that, just as a separate story to tell you, several years ago I went to the New York Public Library to listen to a talk given by the chef Anthony Bourdain. After he finished his talk, he asked for any questions. So I went up and this was the question that I asked. I said to him, Mr. Bourdain, your answer will resolve a major domestic issue in my household. Would you agree with me when I say that when a man is in the kitchen, it is essential to have a large glass of alcohol by his side? And Bourdain didn't wait for a moment, he just said yes. And so in that way, let me say, cheers. The onion is coming along nicely. The next step for the onion is that I will add the spice mix. The spice mix consists of 1 teaspoon each of cumin powder, chili powder, and turmeric powder, and 2 large teaspoons of coriander powder. These I have already pre-mixed, and when the yes, we're getting close. So you will see the onion is turning translucent. I don't want it to burn, I don't want it to brown, I don't want it to caramelize. So at this point, it is ready for the spice mix. mix it all in so that it is evenly spread out over the onions. I'll take a pause while I wait for these to be ready, and then we'll come back again for the rest. The spices for the dal are popping, which is the mustard seed, which blooms in the hot oil, and we are now ready to go to the next step. I will add 1 chopped onion, stir to mix. While this is happening, the dal has started to boil. I will turn the heat down because otherwise it will spill over. Cover it partially. Meanwhile, I've got to watch out that this doesn't burn, so you keep stirring it. For the continuing the meat recipe, I will now. I have separately. I have taken a pound of ground chicken and I have rinsed it in water. I do this to prevent it from getting clogged up when it goes in. So now I'm adding the chicken. And stir. Do a lot of stirring when you're cooking Indian food, because you have to mix all the ingredients in to get a consistent spread throughout. At this point, we turn the heat down to medium. And we will wait for this to brown a little bit before going to the next step. Meanwhile, I'm keeping an eye on the onions for the dal, and waiting for them to get translucent. The meat is starting to brown, and we are almost ready for the next ingredient to go in. The next ingredient are 1 chopped tomato and, just as a little add-on, a few potatoes, which I had small potatoes and I've sliced them in half. now mix them in. And if the dish appears to be dry, I will add a cup or half a cup of water. There's nothing else to do to this dish but just to wait for the meat and for the potatoes to cook. So getting back to the dal, again, as you will see, the onions are nicely browned, or translucent. The next ingredient to add are tomatoes. Well, again, 1 tomato chopped. We will now cook the tomatoes and the onion until the tomatoes start to break down. That is going to take about 10 minutes. So I will take another pause. They will continue to cook and I will come back to the finishing touch. The onions and the tomatoes have melded beautifully, and this is the way they should look. The tomatoes are all broken. And I will now add them entirely into the dal. This is how the dal should look. And depending on your taste, which you will realize after you've made it once and you can decide, at various times you might want to add more water if you like it thinner, or leave it as it is if you like it very thick. That's it. We will now wait for the keema to finish cooking. The meat and the potatoes have been cooking for 35 minutes. And at this point, in my opinion, they are done. And let me show you how they look. Not particularly attractive, is it? I've never thought of Indian food as being attractive, just very tasty. But there you have it. Made 2 dishes at the same time. The dal is now ready for eating, and that's about it. So thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. And I apologize for my dogs.